We are now resuming. I think we have one more person for address the council. Come on, Mr. Peppo.
Thank you. Patrick Peppo, 156 Elaine. I just have a quick comment about the council needing a separate attorney. Mr. Ferrera's here tonight, Mr. Johnson here, two former mayors. They always got the job done with one attorney. Mayor Mosca got the job done with one attorney. But for some reason, with this administration, one attorney doesn't seem to be enough. And that's fine. If the council needs a separate attorney, that's all fine. But the budget has a certain amount of money approved for legal. So
For the council.
No. It has a certain amount of money approved for legal, period. Not for council, and not for the mayor. That's not specified. There's a certain amount of money for legal. So, if the council, if this administration can't figure out a way to get the job done with a single attorney, then probably what has to happen is, unfortunately, and I don't have anything against Mr. Burris, I don't know him, he seems like a pretty nice guy to me, but Mr. Burris is gonna take a hit in his money because there's only a certain amount of money allocated for legal. So if you have to have a separate attorney, if the administration can't figure out a way to get this done with one attorney, the way Mayor Ferrera did, the way Mayor Johnston did, the way Mayor Mosca did, and many before them, then it's not gonna be a very well-paying job for anybody, not for the current city attorney or for the new attorney. But because if you can't get it done with one attorney, that shouldn't cost the citizens more money. That should be something that the administration has to find out a way to do the job within the amount of money that was allocated in the budget for legal. Thank you.
We will now close address the council. Approval of the minutes.
Reading of the minutes of the council meeting on February 16th.
Do I have a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Mayor, I'd like to see if we can motion just to skip over the approval of the minutes for now until we figure out more. I'm sure we still have to discuss more to figure out what can be used, because there's going to be a lot of battles within
Would you
these.
just like to defer the,
Well, if we skip over, it just carries till next month.
right, so we're gonna need
So do we,
a motion to defer the council minutes for February 16th?
yeah, I'd like to motion actually to defer all of them for now.
Okay, then why don't you make your motion as to how you want to state it?
Okay, I want a motion to defer all the approval of the minutes, the February 16th, March 16th, and the May 30th meetings until we decide how we're going to move forward with the minutes.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by?
Second.
By Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Communications.
The Board of Adjustments and Appeals did not meet in May, and the Planning and Zoning Board did not meet in June.
Resolutions.
Proposed resolution number 2017-16. The following resolution was proposed, the following was unanimously by the council of the city of Harahan. A resolution creating the Harahan Police Department Advisory Committee. Whereas the council for the city of Harahan has a desire to study the appropriate funding, staffing, salary, equipment, and operational needs for the Harahan Police Department. And whereas there are very few dedicated sources of revenue for the Harahan Police Department. And whereas there is a need for long-range planning for the Harahan Police Department. And whereas council for the city of Harahan would like to have input from both the public and the police department about funding, staffing, salary, equipment, and operational needs for the Harahan Police Department. Now therefore be it resolved by the council for the city of Harahan, Louisiana, acting as governing authority of said city, and Section 1, the Harahan Police Department Advisory Committee is hereby created. Section 2, the committee shall be comprised of 7 members total. 2 members shall be appointed by the Harahan Police Department through the Chief of Police, 5 members shall be appointed by the Harahan Council and approved by majority vote. Section 3, the committee shall serve for no compensation, but shall be given reasonable accommodation in city facilities to meet. Section 4, committee members should have an understanding of police operations, municipal budgeting, operating budgets, employee issues, general government operations, or any other experience, knowledge, or education that would be advantageous to the committee goals. Section 5, no more than 2 members may reside outside the city of Harahan. Section 6, the committee shall meet on days and times of their choosing, but shall meet at a minimum of once per month. Section 7, the Harahan Police Department Advisory Committee shall operate for 1 year from appointment of the first member and thereafter disband until extended by the council for the city of Harahan. And Section 8, the mission for the Harahan Police Department Advisory Committee shall include review current information related to the funding and operations of the Harahan Police Department, review data and other pertinent information related to the future community needs as they relate to police staffing services, review any other information relevant to the continued efficient and effective operation of the Harahan Police Department, make a recommendation regarding the most appropriate staffing and services model for the Harahan Police Department, make a recommendation regarding the most appropriate funding level for the Harahan Police Department, including any potential funding sources. The foregoing resolution having been submitted to a vote, the vote thereon was as follows.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by? Councilman Wheeler, all in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Anyone wishing to speak to this, please come up. If there's no one wishing to speak to this resolution, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Bodier, seconded by Councilman Johnston, all in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Motion passes. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion?
I would just like to say, I mean, I would like to think that this resolution would go, the vote would be unanimous. I mean, the police department definitely needs some assistance. And I think this will kind of bring in the citizens to have their input.
Do I have a,
Any comment, Chief?
anything else?
I mean,
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas. Resolution passes unanimously by 4. Ordinances for approval.
Proposed ordinance number 2017-9. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Benton and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance to amend and reordain Section 78-31A, Section 78-32, and 78-44 of the Harahan Municipal Code to provide for the collection of solid waste and refuse by the city or contractor selected by it, to provide for the imposition of charges for the collection, removal, disposal, and recycling of solid waste and refuse, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
City Attorney Bureau, do you have any comment before we move on? Or?
I drafted this ordinance, is this thing on? I drafted this ordinance in order to conform your city code to what the actual practice is, because the numbers stated in your city code don't conform to what you're actually putting on the bill. Also, the previous recycling charge was never authorized as a matter of law, so I included that as part of the ordinance. Otherwise, the ordinance is exactly the same as what you have on the books right now. And as it reads right now, any increase in the garbage fee is automatically passed along to the people who use the services.
Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now open.
Jason Brusick, 7204 Stoneleigh,
If you
still.
just give me a
again.
moment, please. This is why I have my
No
phone.
problem.
Thank you.
This ordinance, I would say that while Gilbert suggests that it just puts things into order for what is, quote, historic, or that Harahan has previously done, I would submit, it looks to me like a back room, kind of a pipeline to allow for more money to go to Ramelli. And so this is gonna be the vehicle by which they turn around and figure out a way to bill us more to pay to Ramelli. So I'm gonna ask you to look at it very, very carefully before you vote on this. because, again, to me, it just stinks. It stinks because the Ramelli contract was so badly confected, so badly executed. You guys never saw it before, and now you have an ordinance in front of you that, hey, mysteriously, will go ahead and cover all these hidden costs. So think about it before you vote, and I'm gonna ask you, I don't think it should pass. So I'm gonna ask you to shoot it down. Thank you.
If there's no one else to speak to this ordinance, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Bodier. All in favor? Any opposed? We have 4 yeas. Motion to close the public hearing passes. Council discussion?
I disagree with Mr. Brusick completely. This ordinance is simply allows the city to legally charge these fees to the customer. It doesn't raise any fees. It just says that we can charge them. We can put it on their water bill. That's all this ordinance does. It has nothing to do with the garbage contract as it's written. This is for just to bring us into compliance with what is legal.
If, I'd like to just say that the city does not have a mechanism to do the service of recycling, nor a way to put on the charge. If anything, please strike the language that even refers to the garbage fees, but let us be able to move forward so that we can give our residents the opportunity, if you should so wish, for recycling, curbside recycling. I ask this body to consider that so that we can give that service and place that charge appropriately on the bill with the appropriate legal mechanisms. At a minimum, I wish that would get accomplished tonight. The fees, as we have stated about the garbage contract, or not the garbage contract, on our municipal code, it's 2 separate issues. The city has always charged the residents for how many garbage cans you have. This clarifies how we put those charges on and where and by how much. When you research our municipal code, we dug deep and went way into the past to find out how did it get onto the ad valorem tax bill? How did it get on to the water bill? City Attorney Burris, am I correct in saying that there were things that were alluded to about the ad valorem taxes, but it was never truly addressed?
You know, all that I did with respect to this was to make sure that you had in place the legal authority to impose a recycling fee, which somehow y'all had before, but it was apparently just by mayoral fiat. It didn't go through the council. So this includes recycling as a specific thing that can be charged for. No more than was charged before, $2.20. And the $5, yeah, well, that's not an ordinance. And the $5 per month charge is what you're actually charging right now. And it wasn't put in your ordinance. So I simply took your actual practice and put it into black letter law so that if somebody opened the law book, they could see this is how we get charged for it. The ad valorem tax, the ad valorem charge is the same thing. But you know, the primary concern here was to clarify what your actual practice is, not to come up with any backdoor method of doing anything else, simply to make the ordinance conform to what it is you're actually doing. And to include recycling for the future.
Because I think we've all been contacted by residents who want curbside recycling. And without the municipal code stating that we can provide that service and provide that fee,
Oh,
charge us fee. We
Also,
need that.
there was something else I stuck in here now that I'm looking at it. because we have a solid waste contract, and solid waste is a defined term under the Ramelli contract, your ordinance just says all refuse accumulated shall be collected. I wanted to get that solid waste language in there as well. So, yeah, this was basically to bring you up to speed as to what you're doing with your actual collections and your actual, the actual fees that show up on the bills, and to provide for recycling in the future. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to pass it, nothing's going to change. Your custom and practice has been to impose a $5 charge on an ad valorem tax bill with no authority in law. You imposed recycling charges in a recycling amendment, no authority in law. So the custom and practice of Harahan has apparently been to do something that you didn't provide for in law. So if you don't want to pass it, it's just a custom and practice. If I had to defend it in court, that's what I would say. That's just their custom and practice.
My issue with this is last month I even stated, or last meeting, not last, well, technically it was last month, but only a couple weeks ago. I stated that I want recycling. Everybody I'm hearing from wants recycling back, but I wanted it in a separate ordinance by itself. I didn't want it involved with all this other stuff.
Okay.
And the wording is changed. You know, everybody can have
Well-
their opinion how
well-
it changed.
Well, Councilman,
but-
with all due respect, before I drafted this ordinance, nobody called me, and I distributed this ordinance along with the red lines and the strikeouts 2 months ago. Nobody's called me. Nobody sent me an email. Nobody sent me a letter, by the Postal Service. So forgive me for not doing that. Now that you've expressed that opinion.
I expressed that last meeting I expressed it.
Then do you want me to go back and rewrite the ordinance to do a separate ordinance for?
I would rather see a
recycling?
separate separate ordinance for recycling. I don't mind clarifying that it's $5, not $4 like it has in the past, but
Right.
a lot of this other wording, I agree with Mr. Brusick, it's open-ended.
I'm just asking,
Yeah, I
couldn't
know.
we
It's
amend?
really,
No.
it's really open-ended. Service being supplied by one 96-gallon roll cart container for storage. Yeah, I left it really open-ended there.
You picking
know,
one, you picking one passage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of my
Uh-huh.
passages,
Right.
when I say something, it's for a
Yeah.
reason. When I write it down, I have a reason for writing it down.
I
Well,
just
that-
believe that the timing is terrible on this.
I'm going to
that
just
I think that we
withdraw it.
have to
I'm withdrawing
get through-
the
We have to get
ordinance.
through what we dealing with the garbage contract. and
I have a
figure out what's
motion
going on.
to,
No, I
no,
can just
she can just,
withdraw. I'm
Sue
withdrawing
Benton
it.
has withdrawn the
Just
ordinance.
withdraw it.
So please, I asked Councilman Johnston, please get in
Well, I'm stating right now,
contact with- Well, no, to contact with Mr. Burris to help design what you would like to see in the ordinance. We would appreciate that. So that we can move forward and address this. So, thank you very much, Ms. Benton, for doing that. Okay. Next ordinance.
Proposed ordinance number 2017-10. The following ordinance was proposed unanimously by the council. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. And this was for Recreation Department.
For a poll. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yays. Motion passes. Public hearing is now open. If there's no one here wishing to discuss this ordinance, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded
Second.
by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yays. Motion passes. Council discussion?
I see all this writing on the side. What does all that entail?
When this ordinance was first brought up to introduction, I mentioned something to Linda that this section 3 should not be in the ordinance the way it was written. So I'm assuming that might
Yeah,
have been a note.
that was my
that's-
note that
right.
day, and I gave Nicole the new ordinance.
And
to-
behind that is the new one, right behind that one
Right.
in your packet. Was it taken out?
No, it's not.
The
taken
It's
out.
not.
ordinance, it's still there.
It's still there.
Section 3 is still there.
I didn't get a new one.
That's the one you gave me, Linda.
I'm assuming that's it.
I mean,
So we're striking section 3 altogether?
I'm sure you can just motion
we can
right
just
now,
amend
just
it.
take
Y'all
it
can
off.
just amend it.
Wait, hold on. Ms. Lulu, yes?
I gave it to her.
I saw it because
Yeah,
I had it.
We were together and we went in
Correct.
there.
I thought I had your whole
And
little
no,
packet
and
here.
you said that you couldn't put the new one in here because this was the one that was advertised, that we would have to distribute it here.
Oh, no, yeah, it's just, the title's just advertised, but, I mean, it can be amended.
We can do it now.
You
You
know,
want a
just
motion
take
to-
it out. I mean,
Yeah, just a motion to remove section 3 of
Second.
ordinance 2017-10.
Wheeler?
I have a motion to amend the ordinance. Can you repeat it to?
This would be a motion to totally strike and remove section 3 of
Okay.
ordinance 2017-10.
I have a motion by Councilman Wheeler, seconded
Second.
by Councilman Johnston. All in favor?
Yay. Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Amendment is approved. Any
All
further
right.
discussion? What? It's amended, correct. Any further discussion?
Do we know when the work will begin on this?
I have to ask Edwin as soon as.
Well, hopefully, Edwin, you'll get your door first before we do
Uh,
this, huh?
right.
Because didn't that come first before this one?
Yes, a couple months ago.
Okay.
We can discuss that.
Oh, we will.
We can, do I have a motion to proceed with the vote to adopt the ordinance?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Ordinance passes. Well, what we'd like to do with this, the ordinance, proposed
I was gonna say
ordinance
there's
number
nothing here.
2017-11, is we would like to defer this. Not all employees have finished opting for their insurance.
Can you defer an ordinance without a body to it?
We just don't want to, we can withdraw it.
Can you
Well, there's-
defer
there's-
it
We can put
without
it
a
out for
body?
first reading again, but
And all it has is a title.
because we were trying to get the figures to everyone, we didn't want employees to wait. Thus,
And if we withdraw it, then
it
we
would
have
just
to
be a
do-
first, would this be,
go back
First
up to
reading
first
again.
And I don't know, what's the timeline on that?
we should have everyone, when's the,
The deadline's the 19th
yes,
The 19th of July.
of June. So for
June.
next meeting, I'll have numbers.
I'll have, right, and so we
Oh,
could
for that
have,
deadline
Right.
for them, I meant the deadline to get it to the insurance company.
Oh,
no, once we know how many, what each
person.
employee chooses, then we'll be able to give you the numbers as to how we truly need to amend. So,
So it would be better if we could defer it and then next time have the numbers and
correct.
provide the numbers prior to the
Correct.
meeting.
I wish we,
I understand it'd be better and easier, it's just can you do it
Right,
with
so
no
we can
body
withdraw it.
involved?
right, we'll withdraw
So
it.
you can't, yeah.
Thank you. Withdrawn.
So then it has to go up for first.
Proposed ordinance number 2017-12. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Benton and seconded by Councilman
I'll second.
Johnston. An ordinance amending ordinance 1822, the annual budget of revenue and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. And this is for Highway, Street, and Maintenance Department uniforms.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now open. Anyone wishing to come up and speak? If there's no one wishing to.
Edwin, would you mind? Because I know this is about, so this is uniforms?
Yeah, it's just T-shirts for my guys, their
Okay.
uniforms, usually get it once a year. I didn't have a line item for any of that. I usually, Vinny used to, or Paul, we usually get them and put it in small equipment or something, but we need a line item for
Okay.
uniforms. So I'd like to do it, It's not a whole lot of money,
Right.
but my guys go through T-shirts pretty quick.
Understandable, yeah.
Well, a lot of times, like in the summertime, they're sweating their ass off. They are, and they'll swap T-shirts in the
What I-
middle of the day. And,
And I'd like to discuss getting them new, maybe increasing this line item a little further, because I discussed with Edwin that those gentlemen are on the roadways all the time. They don't, and sometimes they're at night out there working.
Yeah.
And I would like to get some
Some
safety
vests,
jackets for them. I do not have a price on them yet.
Mayor,
Yes.
I will donate those safety vests if Mr. Edwin provides me with all of those sizes.
Aw,
Sure.
thank you,
Thank you.
Councilman.
Thank you. Well, the thing is-
Thank you, Mr. Bodier.
I was gonna get orange T-shirts and kind of, because you
I just
put a
want
vest
something
on
with
top of a
reflective.
shirt, and it's like a jacket. They're sweating
They
already.
make some very new lightweight material that's unbelievable. It's really, it wicks and everything.
Thank you,
Sounds
sir.
like you might be just the
Appreciate it.
guy to know.
Well, the reason I've been getting them from this one spot, because we had the stencil or whatever you call that, they had made it for us years ago, and I've been going back to them every year.
Well, I'll get you the vest, you can let them print them.
Okay. Or whatever. Any help will be grand.
Any further discussion?
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Any further discussion?
No.
Thank you. No, that was council discussion. Do I have a motion to adopt the
Wait, we
ordinance?
didn't.
Motion.
I don't have a motion to close public hearing, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now closed. Any further council discussion?
No discussion.
No discussion? Do I have a motion?
Thank you, Councilman Bodier.
Do I have a motion to?
Motion.
Yes, we all do. To pass this ordinance?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. The ordinance is passed.
All right. Proposed ordinance number 2017-13. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Benton and seconded by Councilman
Second.
Johnson. An ordinance to, what is this, hold on. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. And this one's for highways and street maintenance.
Mr. Calvin Houtmeyer, I believe, is here. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask him to speak so the public, when they want to come up for discussion, can have some information.
This is for roadway improvements, restoration of Keelman, VFW, Prados, and a section of Marquette that is currently failing. This will involve the design, engineering design, so that we get reasonably good drainage. This is not just a mill and overlay. Essentially, that's going to be the work that's going to be done, but it will be also done at elevation so that at the end of the day, we don't have a number of bird baths throughout a new roadway project. This would be designed by an engineering firm other than us. You know, we're here to supervise and provide guidance. This is not being done by Stewart.
Can you talk about the drainage issues that we have to be
In
careful of?
other areas, roads were overlaid such that now the sidewalks are the drainage system, and city's involved in a lawsuit over that in a certain area. And the intent in having this designed, as opposed to just hiring Fleming Asphalt to go out and mill and overlay, is so that we can attempt to get that positive drainage toward the drainage system that works on those streets. They do have catch basins, they do have inlets, so this is a matter of sloping the roads and paving the roads in the appropriate directions. But right now, if you drive those, you really won't think you're in the city of Harahan.
No, it's horrible.
I mean, I drove some roads today. OK Avenue looks like it was built about the same time, 10 times better, and I'm sure it's just because of the amount of car usage to and from the school and the bus traffic that has caused this damage. It's just that it's a heavily accessed road during those times of the day.
Any questions for Mr. Hartmeyer? Do I have a motion
Yeah, I'm
to?
sorry, Calvin, I do have one question. I actually have a few of them. When this was presented to us on the May 30th meeting, it was just by title only, and when we received this ordinance in our agenda, which we just received a couple days ago, so this is kind of the first that we're looking about this. I know you verbally talked about dollar figures at the 30th meeting, Have y'all received any cost estimates or their scope of work?
We prepared we had Ames give us a budgetary number on what engineering would cost, as well as a projection of the restoration cost. What are we talking about? Is this $1 million project? The order is 250 to 300,000 tax license destination charges, everything.
And I understand that, it's just between this one and the other ordinance that's coming up, I mean, it's really gonna hit our capital project balance quite heavily. I personally, before I make a decision on this, I'd like to see the scope of work that y'all were provided. I mean, you're asking for approximately $300,000 over 2 years, but I understand it's for repaving, and I've spoken to several citizens. I thought it was kind of odd that some citizens received this ordinance on their door. Because I got a phone call from a guy today that said he came home and it was on his door. I didn't realize we were out there hanging ordinances, but I guess that's another story for another day. I explained to him the same thing that I'm here to say to you. I mean, I'm not really in a position, especially since we just received this, to make a decision without more information. So I really would like to see not only,
I will be happy to provide what I have.
okay, and I'll make that request now for the other ordinance too.
Okay.
Okay. So just so you don't have to
That,
come back
that
up.
other, I can talk to that one too now
Okay.
or later. The other ordinance is straight out of the design improvements report that was provided in 2011 by the city engineer that suggested improvements throughout the city. This is one of the 10 to 15 projects that's in there. The priority 1 work was all pump to the river, Mazway ditch, and some other projects. Priority 2 work are essentially, not completely, but essentially crossings of Jefferson Highway on the order of $1.5 to $750,000 at 3 separate locations. The priority 3 work were more the area south of Jefferson Highway, both along Hickory, Sedgwick, Sedgefield, excuse me, Donlin, McHugh, and then further west to Colonial Club. There's also some areas that involve the Lauricella Canal. There's a couple areas, there's an area on Wilson at Hickory. But all of that was, just right out of the drainage report, and those
these-
costs were presented in 2009, 10, and 11.
So we have,
part of this
we have to
report.
update the cost then, because that
We
was,
haven't updated the cost, but it's, right now, the cost of this particular project, which also had been previously submitted to the state as a capital outlay request in 2014, 2012, somewhere in that time
Right.
period, is clearly the priority
Right.
project that the previous engineer thought. No reason to defer, disagree with the comment.
right.
How long had this been identified as a problem?
Well, again, the report speaks to the flood-prone areas as established by FEMA in March of 1995.
Right.
So that's the areas, as we all know, the chief talked about it in the past about crossing Jefferson Highway.
Right.
There's a bottleneck in crossing Jefferson Highway. This does not fix that, but
Right.
it gets the water to Jefferson Highway. Crossing Jefferson Highway is gonna be a matter of working with the parish and the state, since it's a state highway.
Right. And just like Councilman Wheeler said, we just got these 2 days ago, and it'd be great to have some more information to go along before we actually vote. And another thing I just wanted to delve on real quick is, like Councilman Wheeler said, this is like $800,000 in 2 years. I would like to actually see maybe go with 3 years, if we couldn't possibly go 3 years. Try and extend it out a little bit, where we're not taking that
I'm
big
not-
hit at one
I'm not in
time.
disagreement with that.
Right.
But I got $10 million here that needs to be done, and it's
Right.
needed to be done since 2000, and I'm just here to promote improvements to the drainage system, which again, the fire chief, the police chief have to drive through those streets
Right.
during an emergency. We need to
Right.
start working on the drainage, and we haven't. I
Right.
mean, I've been here for 2 years, and I've done catch basin cleanings with Edwin.
Right.
We've done some pipe cleans.
Right.
There have been no,
Right.
the city hasn't made the improvements
Right.
that have
And I
been
know-
suggested.
I know these 2 neighborhoods, and I know it's serious problems with the streets, with potholes all over the place on that one, and the flooding problem over there by McHugh, Donlin type area. I know all about that, but it's just taking a hit all in 2 years is what's tough. Maybe if we can look at, pushing it back to 3, maybe 4 years for the $500,000 one, just to try and,
Well, what about maybe some
Ease it.
assistance from the parish, or you said this is gonna interfere with Jefferson Highway, could the state come in?
The answer to the questions are all yes.
Well, maybe we need to look into
But
that too.
We have.
It's been in the
We've
state's
been, you know, I mean,
had to request to
we can
do
make a
this
formal
project.
presentation, Jefferson, Parish,
When was
and
the
they
state,
may
when did the
assist.
state have
We
it?
have asked the state for assistance. So we have done a lot of those things to try to fund these through other
When
mechanisms.
was the state requested or asked to provide us some assistance?
2000, I want to say 2013 was a capital outlay request that was not funded. We've asked for other, and we asked this year, for this same project this year, it was not funded. So that's all part of the 4 or 5 projects we asked annually for, state funding. Well, we know the state's got budget issues as well. They're not funding what they did 10 years ago. So all of us have budgetary concerns.
Well, I just want to say that I met with 6 residents yesterday about this, and Mr. and Mrs. Falgout showed me multiple pictures of flooding on those streets. I think it was on Donnellan and McHugh, and there was water coming over the hood of the car in many of the pictures. And she said they have been trying to get the city since 1994 to do something about the flooding in their area. And those residents are just really,
well, problem is getting from one part of the highway to the other, because I think the pipe shrinks when it goes underneath the highway, correct?
but I just think it needs to be addressed.
Right.
But the project, from what I understand, we have the Lauricella ditch that is very, very large.
Right.
That goes underneath the highway. Our problem is not getting state funding, and what can we do to assist these residents who worry and at every simple rain, worry about water in their homes.
So-
We've documented well, the complaints and people who've had those problems
You s-
in the past.
And,
You
and,
s-
and
So-
Calvin, you stated that one of the problems with breaking it up into multiple projects, to take a 2-year project and turn it into a 3, 4, 5-year project, you get less bang for your buck. It becomes more expensive.
And-
It will always cost more to do it over a
Right,
period of years.
right.
I mean, anytime we defer cost, it's,
I got you. Right,
as we've
And there's
had
more
this discussion in the
disruption.
past, it's just,
right.
if you could do a $10 million project, you'd get it for $100 a foot. If you do a $100,000 project, you
of
can
course,
get it for $150 a foot.
And you said you went to the state working with the highway. What exactly did they say?
Well, I mean, again, we went to, for the capital outlay request, which is
Okay.
an annual thing that
Right.
you and 5,000 other people
Right.
asked for part of a $2 million budget. I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but
Uh,
it's gotten minimal. They used to do a lot more. They're now doing $20 and $30 million worth of work where they used to do hundreds of millions of dollars worth of work. So it's gotten less and less and more competitive, to the point where if you walked in there with plans and specs already designed, you'd be better off, potentially, because you can better define the cost. But to do that, you need to spend the 10 or 15% of the $500,000 on design. So you've got to spend that money. Again, depending on annual budgets and how you're looking at it, it's going to take 2 or 3 months of surveying and design before you get, bidding. Bidding is another month or
Right.
2, so permitting, all of this takes time. $500,000 would not be spent this year,
Right.
but you could easily spend it next year. This is
What- That's what I was gonna chime in. I mean, we have many departments that share in the capital project account. We have a chief that's been begging since I took office in 2015, and probably prior to that, about a fire truck that I'm sure he's been asking for years. My only concern is, again, this was first brought to us on May 30th. To me, a project like this has probably been in the works. I'm sure this is not just a water cooler conversation y'all had in the last 2 weeks, since now it's
No,
being
I mean,
adopted.
it's been in the works.
I understand.
And
So-
it's also CBDG, when you do capital outlay, that comes, I
cut her off.
believe,
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
That, those projects are submitted, we keep submitting them.
Right.
Um,
But again, we haven't done any other engineering at all on them. because I don't want to spend your money.
Well, and I don't want to allocate it until I know what it's going to.
Right, and that's another thing, like she was saying, is we brought down the rates recently on the water bill because we knew we had low capital money to rely on if we have emergency repairs or something like that with the sewer. Well, if we take it all away, we're not gonna have that, and then fees will have to go back up. So we're trying to keep from fees going up, and this is just gonna take it all at one time. But like I said, I'm with Councilman Wheeler. I'd like to see an estimate, itemized type thing that shows where all
I'll
this
be
is
happy to
going.
give you copies of the report that
Right.
already have. I mean, so.
Would you like to, yeah. I'm sorry, Kevin. It is.
Well,
Thank- oh.
actually, we haven't opened a public discussion because we asked Calvin to come up
Oh, I
before.
apologize.
So that the public could be informed about the
comment on it.
ordinances.
They will.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Go.
Well, I think there's people that would like to talk about
If
it.
you could put a motion, you can put a motion if you wanted to, or we can. Okay. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Wheeler, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yays. Open the public hearing, 0 nays, to clarify. Hold on.
Eric
just let me
Chatelain.
Get this again. Yes, sir.
Eric Chatelain, 700 Colonial Club Drive. I'm not an engineer or anything, but I do believe if you take part of this project and do parts of the projects, I believe the part of the project that's the major issue is Jefferson Highway, under Jefferson Highway.
Right.
So if we make these repairs on Donald and McHugh, the water's gonna flow from the backside of Donald and McHugh to the front side, and you might have a flood issue up front. I'm just guessing. I don't have all of the engineer sheets in front of me. So I think this project needs to be funded for the engineering stage and see where it's gonna go. But I believe the project has to be done under the highway first. Another question, I mean, the pump to the river, I realize we have to get the water from the streets to the Soniac Canal before the pump to the river is gonna go in effect. The pump to the river should help this a little bit because the water's gonna be pumped out quicker, so the water's not gonna be as high in the Soniac Canal. At the same note, the water does have a major issue to get under Jefferson Highway. So prior to doing the Donald and McHugh stage, it's easy for me to say I don't live on Donald and McHugh back in that area. I do know it is an issue. I mean, I've sat in y'all seats, and I know the residents complain, but without getting the state funding or the state approval to change these culverts under Jefferson Highway, we're moving one water from one part of Donald and McHugh to another part.
Right.
You know, and that's not my profession. I'm just trying to use a little bit of common sense that we learned in school. You know what I mean? We got to start at the mouth. I mean, we can't just start at the other end. I mean, we got to get it moving under the highway
I was gonna ask you some questions.
prior to moving that water from there. So the question to the engineer would be, does the pump to the river, is there any way to tell, is this gonna affect and help us in a small bit? I realize the water's gotta get there. But if you got a pipe that's half full of dirt, it's gonna flow slowly through.
We're
But-
gonna take a recess. Thank you. I'm sorry.
So what I was explaining was if you had a pipe that had a slower flow going through it to the canal, if the canal was full, it's gonna take more pressure to push that water through. So if we get the pump to the river working, it could drain that canal a little bit better. The water should flow a little better. But in the same note, I'd hate to see us spend money, and like I said, I'm not the engineer, to move water from one end of McHugh to the other. You know, one end of Donelson to the other, Sedgefield, vice versa. I believe we have a major issue under Jefferson Highway,
We do.
which I don't know if the city has authority to run that under Jefferson Highway without the state's approval. I mean, that's a state highway. We need to get the state's approval on that. So if we show them fault on that part and it's affecting us in that way, we're gonna have to get it done. But in the same note, we need to have it engineered and staged what part goes first. If we start in the back and we don't start in the front, I mean, you're accomplishing something, but you're not accomplishing the job.
Right.
Mr. Brusick, do you mind if I ask the city engineer a few questions and, okay. The project under Jefferson Highway is gonna be a very large, expensive project, correct?
Yes.
And in the near future, I don't see,
I'm gonna defer to the report, and the report talks of 3 crossings of Jefferson Highway. And they are at,
I have it, Mazaway Ditch.
well, that doesn't cross, yeah, that one, it's, right. The 3 crossings of Jefferson Highway are at the Lauricella Ditch, the Colonial Golf Club Ditch, and at the Woodward Ditch. Those are the 3 crossings that are not at this area. They are primarily to the east, further east than this area. This report does not address crossing Jefferson Highway at that point, implying to me that there is adequate crossing at McHugh. Again, I'm going from the previous engineer's report. They prioritized the projects. Priority 2 are the crossing at Jefferson Highway at Lauricella, Colonial Golf Club Ditch, and Woodward Ditch are in priority 2. They total roughly $4 million. Priority 3 are Sedgefield, Wilson, Donlin, Magnolia, and Harahan Ditch. They average 500,000 plus or minus. Priority 4 is actually the McHugh section of this drainage improvement. I agree with your general statement, you don't fix the back end to get through to the front end. I'm going by what this report tells me that they modeled and they did. I've not rerun this model, we haven't paid to do that. It's an expensive process. They're a professional engineer, I accept what they said. With regard to pump to the river, I'm gonna say something, and I hope you understand it. It is not a daily operated station. It is only a high weather event station. There is a weir that is in the suction side of that pump station that it keeps the water in the Sonia Canal. Once the Sonia Canal gets up high enough to go over that weir, that's when the water goes into that station and can be pumped. As
there's a device in the canal.
well, there's telemetry in the canal that reads when the water is over that weir. And again, getting the water there faster will get it over that weir faster. So getting it there is key to its ever operation. As it stands today, it is still not operational because they don't have all of the connecting controls between the station and the river. And that is currently in the works by change order.
So for those streets that we're talking about where they flood and they need more drainage under the highway, the Lauricella ditch would be the ditch to service those streets.
No, the
No?
Lauricella ditch is over by St. Rita's. This is
Okay.
several blocks over. Again, I'm going by this report. It takes the water from River Road up, well, starts at River Road, goes up Donlin, zigzags onto McHugh, because it's a little bit of an offset.
Right, it does.
And there's a similar one that goes up Sedgefield, straight up Sedgefield, you know. I have heard, strictly by folklore, that a number of the crossings of Jefferson Highway were put in. And there are a number that weren't put in. I'm assuming that this engineering report addressed those ones that weren't put in. You know,
So the Sedgefield, Donald, and McHugh, what happens is they're like a bit of a bowl
They are
between
part of this-
Colonial, the formerly Colonial Country Club, and Imperial Woods, correct?
yes,
So they get a double whammy, so to speak, with the drainage and then all the runoff that comes off of the levee, correct? Yeah?
yes,
Yeah. And our problem is trying to make it to make that weir or the telemetry, right?
right,
Be notified, pump to the river to say, go and man the pumps.
correct.
So that's only on an extraordinary rain event that would happen. But our problem is just getting any of it moving, correct?
Correct.
And the big problem is the size of the pipes that we have, not just on Sedgefield, Donovan, McHugh, but throughout the city, we have some
I mean,
pipe size problems.
Yes, I mean, there is another large project that is Colonial Club Drive ditch, the entire length. And again, that's a Jefferson Highway. I mean, that's Jefferson Parish's roadway. So it's again, not under our purview. So those are improvements that are all part of a bigger system.
There was discussion either one of our pump to the river meetings, or the council meeting a while back, that the state was gonna improve the drainage across Jefferson Highway if the pump to the river. When we had that discussion
I've
before.
heard that same thing, but, you
And
know,
going across the highway is not a city
Correct.
responsibility, it's a state responsibility. Since I lived in the area, I think once, maybe the mayor can answer, once or twice, they've already increased the capacity going across Jefferson Highway. So I don't know if the
thus
state's
far-
got the money to complete it, it's not a city responsibility going across, or under Jefferson.
Right.
and again, the other part of it is, until we build it, they don't need it. Jefferson, you know, the Louisiana Department of Transportation doesn't need to fix it because it's not their problem yet. Once we put the problem onto them, we get the water to them, they've now got to address the water. As it stands today, they don't have to fix it because they don't have, they're not the bottleneck, because it hadn't gotten there yet.
I disagree. I disagree on that a little bit because the water is to the highway and it's not flowing out.
Well, but
You know,
they're not
so it is
stepping
the
up
state.
because they
I mean,
can.
I realize that. I mean, we need to work with the state.
Correct.
To see if we can move forward. And when I asked that question to the pump to the river, I hear a lot of citizens saying, well, when the pump to the river comes, that's going to help. And I feel the same way you do. That's only going to help on a
bigger
certain
event.
occasion. Correct.
on a
You know,
bigger-
and I just
Couple
want to make
times
sure
a
the
year.
citizens understand that. That pump, like you said, you might go a year and that pump might not start one time. You know, but you might have some bad rainstorms and it might start 3 times in a month. You know, but I think the issue is we need to work with the state more to get the Jefferson Highway issue part done. And I understand if we get some engineering part saying we're going to do this part if y'all could do this part. But it's basically putting new tires on a car with a blown engine. You're not getting anywhere.
I'm gonna, thank you, but I'm gonna ask you, this project, you do assume that there are educated,
Again, I'm going based on this report, and, I did not do the engineering on it. I'm just reading a previously performed study. It made the suggestions, it set the priorities, and I believe they did a reasonable and responsible job. And, I think their recommendations are sound.
thank
Got your timer?
you. I got it, thank you.
All right. Jason Brusick, 7204 Stoneleigh, still, again, I think this is the 4th time. Still live at the same place. All right. I'd like to know, who's going to be writing the invitation to public bid on this one? Is your firm writing it?
No.
You're not. Who's writing it?
Engineering firm has not, which, we've talked to Ames about the streets job.
You wanna come back? I mean, we're not supposed to go back and forth on that, but
We've talked to Ames about
Okay.
potentially doing the design of the street job. There has been no discussion with anyone on the drainage job.
Okay. So will the council have an opportunity to review it prior to its going out?
I defer to the council's direction.
Okay. Because it seems to me like we need a lot of information for this proposal before we turn around and blow $300,000. We need to know a lot more effects. We need to know some more studies. We need more information. We have an old, apparently, report that is from when?
2009, 2011.
2011. Okay, so 6-7 years ago. Right in there. Has anything changed between now and then? Anything that hasn't been accounted for? So we need more information. I'd like the council to spearhead getting that information and making sure, Mayor, and I'll remind you, you work for the council because they are our representatives. So you need to help to ensure they get their information. And my question also to each of the council members, have any of you seen any of this information before we've even talked about it today? Have you seen it?
No.
Recently, no. We know about from past, but yes.
Right. But have you seen any of the report that he just
No.
mentioned?
No.
Have you seen, obviously you haven't seen any RFPs, or, I'm sorry, invitation to bid. You guys haven't seen any of that, obviously it hasn't been written yet. You don't even know who's gonna be writing it.
And we
Is it
just
all-
received the ordinance with the amount on it, because when it was first presented to us, it was just by title and the body was blank.
Okay.
And it was discussed, but in all fairness, I'm just letting you know, so.
So, I'd submit,
I said 2 years? I think it was more.
since you're just now hearing some of this, you're just now seeing the ordinance, you're just now, and you don't have all the information, I just don't think it's a good idea. But that's my 2 cents, and I didn't even use my 3 minutes. Thank you.
Timothy Brennan, 62 Donald Drive. Just a general.
What's your last?
Brennan?
Brandon?
Brennan, yeah. Just a general comment. Sat in through some of the discussions years ago with the Colonial Country Club development and some of the studies. And as I understand it, the parish is responsible for doing the overall major canal flow design basis flood analysis, which should include going through the Justin Highway ditches or culverts. To me, that is supposed to be an up-to-date study that the parish is responsible for. So there shouldn't be any question about what needs to be done to get the water to meet the design basis flood event. Now, I also agree with the earlier gentleman, to me, getting water to the back of, up to the Justin Highway is gonna flood us up near the Justin Highway even more, because the Justin Highway is the flood. I went through the 95 flood, and what came to me was because it went right up to the Justin Highway, and that's where it stops. So as it overflowed Justin Highway, we're fine.
Right.
The key is we gotta get through Justin Highway. And anything beyond that that's nice subsurface drainage, but what's the canal here is Donlin and McHugh Ave Drive. That's your canal. And that's getting the water all the way to Justin Highway. And until you get a culvert, more culverts through Justin Highway, you're not gonna do any good. You're wasting the money.
Right.
But I firmly agree, though, we need to be pushing the state to do something on Justin Highway.
Right.
They've been pushing that off since 95.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm also a citizen. Evan Larcella, 301 East Shannon. I gotta talk about, well, the streets. Let's do it a little bit on the streets. VFW, I know everybody's been down
Oh,
the
yeah.
street. It's spent. It's gone. There's nothing there. We've been talking to the people that live on that street for some time, and we really need to give them some relief. The mayor even commented, it looks like a third world nation back there. That aside, okay, let's get on to the drainage. The drainage issue now, everybody here that's been through 95, went through the flood, had 10 inches of water in their house, like I did and everybody else in Harahan. The Corps came in and they had a big meeting at the playground. And the fellow from the Corps of Engineers stood up on the platform and told everyone in the city, and they were about to run him out of town with pitchforks and torches, but he told them the truth. He said the outfall ditches in Harahan are inadequate, and that's the truth. What it is, now we've done several projects on Jefferson Highway. The state has done it. They put a culvert under Jefferson Highway at Larcella Ditch and at Colonial. But when they get on the other side, you go down to a 38-inch pipe. It's like a giant plenum. Once it gets on the other side, where does it go? And it's true, you don't have, once you restrict it down to a, 48-inch pipe, oh man, that's what backs up. And usually, you notice lately, we've been doing fairly good. You see how New Orleans was flooded the other day. Harahan's been pretty lucky. We haven't had anything over 3 inches in an hour, and that's what saves us. If it rains and slows up a little bit, Paul will tell you, we've watched it over years, 8 years, 10 years, watched the whole thing. And I drive the city every time it rains.
I've driven with.
And the mayor's been with me. I've drug it, Vinny, Paul's been with me. We all rode the streets looking and see what's going on when it rained. Donald, we had the pipe cleaned, and I have a feeling that they're gonna see some relief down there. It hasn't flooded since, and we had a few rains. the guy had a sweet gum tree on the corner, and they have a thing about that, and Carl will tell you about sweet gum trees on his street. They make those little burrs, they get in the pipe and they lock together and it makes a clog. Well, they cut the tree down and got rid of it. So now we shouldn't have too much of a problem on Donlin. But we've had problems there before, because that line runs all the way to Lancashire to West Imperial to Brighton, and then it makes another right and goes to the Larcella Ditch. It's a zigzag course. My mother lived on Sedgefield, and every time she'd get water in the street, she'd call me to come up to the doorstep. I told Mom, I don't know what to tell you.
Can I have a
It's gotta
motion for
make its
3
way
more
over to,
minutes?
Yeah,
I'm
motion.
sorry.
I have a motion by Councilman Benton, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. 3 more minutes.
I don't need that much more time. I mean, the drainage, when they get Pump the River going, I have a feeling you're gonna see a big improvement. Every time that Mesway ditch gets up, and you notice the improvement in Harahan Oaks when they finish the Mesway ditch. Mesway, once they closed it up and got it flowing decent, if you remember how it was before, especially by Royland Park, it was like a trickle. It was almost like a weir where it was choking it down going through to get to the Sonyak Canal. Well, now they got, since they put that big improved culvert in there, not a culvert, but it's a box, we haven't had any problems in Harahan Oaks. And that was a major problem, back in that back corner, you remember that. People would be out there with their pirogues on there, and we haven't had that. Even on McHugh, I haven't seen too much problem. That's my first major spot I go to when we have a hard rain, is McHugh, and see how it's working there. The back corner of Colonial let the levee, and then that's a problem. Nobody complains because nobody's getting any water in their house, but it gets about 2 foot deep on a good rain. And that's really all I gotta say. I mean, it's drainage. But streets, they really need that. And I think we can handle it. Your daddy and me, we did a couple jobs where I sat out there and picked up the tickets on the tonnage and everything. We saved money. Remember that, Paul? And I picked up, and we saved probably 30% on the job, because I stayed there and watched them. If you don't watch them, they're gonna charge you extra. But if you stay with them, you can get a pretty good deal out of it. Okay?
Thank you.
Robert Johnson, 6735 Riverside. I don't know anything about the drainage situation, but our city engineer is relying on reports that another engineer did 9 years ago. Things may have changed. Maintenance Director Laura Selly brings a lot of personal observations and information to this. This cries for a task force to really look at this issue before we spend these great amounts of money. And then secondly, and it's unclear if work really needs, what I heard tonight, it's unclear if work really needs to be done to Jefferson Highway or not. I mean, some pipes have already been put in. Maybe they're enough, maybe they're not. From what I heard, I thought it was unclear. But if it does need to be done with more pipes under Jefferson Highway, we need a concentrated program to lobby the state or the parish to get their involvement and to get them to do this work. I'm not sure this administration, I'm not slamming this administration. I just don't know that one person can do it. It's a separate task force to lobby the state to get the funds. It's gonna be hard, but that's politics. And, somebody's gonna, after Katrina, there was the Women of the Storm that lobbied the federal government for much of the flood money that came to the New Orleans area. We may need a Women of Harahan and a Men of Harahan to go to the state, and if Jefferson Highway needs to get fixed, so that it does get fixed. So I encourage us to use the people resources we have in Harahan, create a task force to look at these drainage issues, to query Mr. Laura Selly, to query our city attorney, to query the gentleman right here, and the other people who have personal information on this and figure out what needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
Again, like I said, I mean, I'd like to see this stuff built over a little bit longer, maybe 3 years or something. Like we were talking earlier also, is that I'd like to see an estimate before we actually approve this and know where the money's going exactly. So I would like to motion to actually defer this till next month once we have all the, once we have all the information.
Calvin, do you think we can, what?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, all right.
I don't know if a month is gonna be sufficient, because I do agree, I think there needs to be at least an effort to try to maybe contact somebody with the state. In 30 days, we're not gonna get
Right.
a
Well,
response.
the state with the next one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm,
this is
yes,
street.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to defer to the July, what date is the July meeting? 20th, regular city council meeting, this ordinance by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Benton. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. The ordinance is deferred.
All right, proposed ordinance number 2017-14. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Benton. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual
Yeah,
budget.
second.
Huh?
And
I'll-
seconded
I'll
by
second.
Councilman Johnston.
Oh, yeah, in Johnston. Oh, sorry about that. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1822, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2017 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana, for highways and street maintenance.
Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston,
Second.
seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Open the public hearing. I believe every.
I think we've
yeah, I
already
think we've
discussed
covered
it.
We're trying to.
Jason Rudy, 7204 Stoneley. Same thing. Exact same argument as last time. Easy?
Yep.
Quick.
There you go.
Do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnston, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
Again, like Kerry was talking
Yeah.
about, we're wanting to get with the state, trying to get some more information from the state, saying about money, and I think we should also reach out to Jefferson Parish, because I think they could help us out with at least doing a little bit of,
Something, and that's why,
Yeah.
I mean, I think deferring, and I still don't think in 30 days we're gonna get a response.
right, but at least we'll keep it on the books for right now, I think. So I'll motion to defer this till
We can
next month.
motion to defer it. Can we skip a meeting and give us?
No. I don't
No, but
think
you
so.
can defer twice.
You can defer
You can
twice.
defer
We could
twice.
defer, then
Okay.
defer
Defer
again.
and defer.
So,
I'll second your motion.
Okay, we have a motion to defer the ordinance until the regular city council meeting, July 20th, by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays.
And
Ordinance-
I wanted to say something, I didn't get to speak. I wanted to thank Mr. Johnson for that recommendation. I think it's a great idea. And the residents that I met with yesterday on Donellan and McHugh and OK expressed an interest to do that, to do just that. And one of the men was an engineer, another one was a contractor. You know, of course, they would be biased to their area, so we have to spread it around and get people from different neighborhoods as well. But I think it's an excellent idea. Thank you.
and then also I'd like to just speak again, saying that if you can get us an estimate of how much everything's gonna be, so we can look over it, and then in turn, try and,
Maybe some line item figures, you know?
right.
Because if we do choose to break it apart, maybe we can look at the line items and prioritize within line item and choose to break it apart as well, as, if that's what we have to come down to.
Thank you.
Ordinance for introduction for first reading.
Proposed ordinance number
Thank you, Calvin.
2017-15. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1806, the annual budget of revenues and expenditure for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2016, for the city of Harahan, Louisiana. That's for the Harahan Police Department.
Old business.
Wood materials.
We've covered it, I believe. We good?
Any further discussion, anyone? Okay.
Are you good with, okay,
New business?
make sure.
New business number 1 is the official journal for 2017, 2018.
City Clerk, Nicole, can you, in the past, we've had decisions to make about which official journal to pick, and it was related to population, et cetera, correct?
It was related to population?
Well, distribution of
Distribution,
the,
right.
to, you know, circulation, I'm sorry, circulation.
That has to do with the millage, if you're trying to,
Okay,
roll
so-
forward for the millage process.
Okay, only for the millage.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. I believe everyone's had time to review the information that was sent out about the pricing. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Do I have a motion by anyone to put up a particular journal to adopt?
Who do we use now?
We use Advocate.
We
We've
have
had the
Advocate.
advocate for the
Right.
past few years.
The Advocate's probably
Better.
more of a circulation going on than a Tospik now.
It's not yet,
Oh.
but probably by next year.
And the pricing?
Not in our area
Right.
yet, but it's close. I mean, it's really close, it's getting closer each year.
And the price.
But, the pricing, but, and also that it's an everyday paper, I mean, that,
Right.
and the turnaround time and, thing, you know,
What did you say? I'm
the
sorry.
turnaround time.
Being that it's every day.
And it's an
Right.
everyday paper.
Right.
Yeah.
It helps us. So, would you like to make a
Yeah.
motion?
So I'll motion for the Advocate.
Okay, I have a motion to choose the advocate by Councilman Johnston, seconded by
Second.
Councilman Benton. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. The advocate is now the official journal for the city again.
And new business number 2 is appeals board and planning and zoning board nominations and appointments.
Before we proceed to the nominations on the boards, the city has received notice that Mr. Dwayne Mara of the Planning and Zoning Board has resigned his position. He's moving out of our city, unfortunately. We'd like to officially thank Mr. Mara for his service to our community, giving of his time, and we really thank him. So it's wonderful to recognize people who want to serve. I would like to renominate Mr. Richard Kiddock to serve on the Board of Adjustment and Appeals for the term of May 2016 to May 2021. Do I have a motion to appoint Mr. Kiddock?
Motion.
I have to approve his nomination. I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, seconded by Councilman Bodier to approve Mr. Kiddock's reappointment. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Mr. Kiddock is reappointed.
Alrighty.
I would next like to nominate Mr. Jimmy Pretlove to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board for the term of May 2016 to May 2021. Mr. Pretlove has been a steadfast supporter of our city. He served the city, how many years as fire chief? 36 years. He also shows how regularly he attends meetings. He is always here listening and here for our city and helps us with emergency management. I'm asking for a motion to nominate, I'm presenting him to the
Motion.
board. A motion to approve Mr. Pretlove. I have a
Motion.
motion by Councilman Johnston,
I'll second.
seconded by Councilman Bodier. All in favor?
Yay.
Any opposed? We have 4 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Mr. Jimmy Pretlove, for your willingness to serve. Thank you very much. I sent a citizen who has expressed some interest in our city, Ms. Helen Burnett, her information to the city council. She has a rich resume, working for the Loyola University in a number of capacities, doing mission work or ministry work, thank you. So I would like to nominate Ms. Helen Barnett to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board for the term of May 2017 until May 2022. Can I have a motion to appoint and approve Ms. Barnett to the board?
To tell you the truth, you sent it yesterday afternoon, and I never had a chance to reach out to her yet.
Okay, would you like to, we can defer her nomination to the next month? Would that be okay?
Sure.
Can I guess we don't have to do it, we can just put it back
Yeah, just
onto
put it
the
back on.
agenda and redo it. I'm gonna ask the fellow council members here to please, meet with her. We don't have to defer because we can just renominate on the next because it doesn't require a layover, okay?
Mayor, before we move on, can a city employee act on the planning and
It's
serve?
already been, actually, Mayor Mosca had an opinion from the Attorney General on this very issue, and yes, he can serve.
And Jimmy Pretlow will replace Penny?
Yes. Well, I just wrote down the terms so that we could be very kind of concrete about the dates of service, so I'm presuming you're correct.
Okay, so what about Pat Peppo and Dale Velez, and who is going to replace Mr. Mara as chairman? Is that something that
I'm
the board?
sorry.
Oh,
There was I got distracted.
okay. Well, there's Patrick Peppo's place that needs to be, there's Dale Velez that can either be reappointed or replaced. And if Dwayne Mara resigned as chairman, who's gonna serve as chairman for the planning and zoning board? Is that a decision that the board makes
I
amongst
think that
themselves?
they elect their chairman.
That's what it
They
just
have a
said.
vice chairman, Stephen
Yeah, Steve
Delfra.
Delfra is,
Yeah.
okay.
And I'd like to clarify this issue is until someone is reappointed or a new appointment is made, the person in that position continues to serve. So,
And since we're on this, I wasn't gonna bring it up, I was gonna bring it to you in private, but since talking about all this, in the municipal code for Harahan, it states that the board shall consist of 5 members or alternatives, all of who shall be landowners or qualified voters in and of the city, and who shall be nominated by the mayor and/or city council and approved by the city council. So our municipal code says that
That the council
mayor
can
and the council can nominate.
actually, I asked for an Attorney General opinion that was distributed to this council, I believe sometime in 2015, where you cannot write a city ordinance that supersedes state law. And basically, it was found not valid.
That item was
So
found
pretty much
invalid?
anybody we will nominate, she'll never.
Right. That exact wording was called invalid?
If you have it with you, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
I didn't bring my stack of stuff.
No answer?
I can go-
Huh.
Nicole's
Oh, okay.
getting them.
I'm confused, I'm like,
Let's see. It's in the planning.
I left it in my
nominating
office.
Planning and Zoning and Appeals Board file. Let's see. Here we go. Is this the one? This one's in all that stuff.
I think it's toward the end.
What's the question?
what?
To the Attorney General.
Do you want me to read the whole thing, or would you like to see it about nominations?
You want me to read? What was the question first? And then the answer.
We're making the claim that we can nominate, the mayor's making the claim.
I'll
that we
just
can
read
nominate.
from the opinion if you, you would like. Do you want me to read the conclusion? To okay, your last question concerns the mayor's authority to appoint members to the board. Specifically, you have asked whether an ordinance may be adopted permitting the city council to nominate members of the Harahan Planning and Zoning Commission. The Harahan Planning and Zoning Commission was established pursuant to the authority granted to municipality by LARS 33:102. LARS 33:103B discusses membership of a municipal planning commission, providing a municipal planning commission shall consist of not less than 5 nor more than 9 members at the discretion of the local legislative body, all to be appointed by the chief executive of the municipality, who may remove any member of the commission after public hearing for inefficiency, neglect of duty, or malfeasance in office. Thus, the legislature has indicated that members of the Municipal Planning Commission are appointed by the chief executive of the municipality. The mayor is the chief executive officer in the Larson Act Municipality, LARS 33:362B. As previously established, a municipality may not enforce an ordinance which contravenes state law. Here, the legislature has given the chief executive officer or specific, to the facts you have presented, the mayor of the city of Harahan appointment authority over members of the Harahan Planning and Zoning Commission. Any provision of any ordinance which purports to redesignate this appointment authority to the Board of Aldermen is without effect. Conclusion: to summarize, the responses to your various questions, this is talking about more than just one thing. So that, let me see if they, finally, pursuant to LARS 33:103B, the mayor of the city of Harahan has appointment authority over members of the Harahan Planning and Zoning Commission. An ordinance providing otherwise is without effect.
So I have a simple question. What supersedes, municipal code or an opinion?
I read something the other day.
I looked at this several months ago.
Can you hear him?
And I'd like to revisit what I wrote, because I haven't looked at it in quite a while, but I thought the author of that opinion was off base with it. And reading both the statute and all sections of the statute, the initial appointments are done by the mayor. But after the initial appointments are done, the way that I read the statute, read all together, the provisions indicate that the mayor nominates the Planning and Zoning Board and the council approves the members, except for persons who may have been initially appointed by the chief executive. So when you create your board, the mayor initially appoints everybody to get it started. But after that, it appears to me that other sections of that particular statute say that she nominates, you approve. So the nomination authority doesn't run everywhere. But I don't agree with that AG opinion.
Well, of course, we don't agree with it. And I can tell you this, I've served under 2 other mayors, and whenever this situation occurred, the first email we got, because we were actually privy to information without having to file information request, is that, hey guys, y'all got anybody y'all want to appoint? What's going on? You know, let's get some people on the planning and zoning board. But this is such a monarchy that we don't have that option. And so what's gonna happen is we're gonna come to a stalemate on this, and you know what, and it's sad.
Well, it's clearly controlled by state law. It doesn't matter what you guys write. State law is going to control in the instance of any conflict between your ordinances and state law.
Right, so
And that's
originally,
the substance of the opinion I just sent to you about the garbage contract matter. You have that on your email already.
so can I clarify that originally when you're setting up your commission, your planning and zoning, the mayor sets those appointments originally.
Mayor appoints them.
Then, from there on out, just like every other appointment, it's my understanding that the mayor puts forth the person and they vote on it.
You nominate, the council approves.
Because, and that was basically how the questions were posed to the AG when we were asking for the opinion. And because by doing any other method, you can then leave the mayor out of the entire equation. You can say, I'm nominating, y'all vote, the mayor's had no input at all. So just like every single other appointment,
But that's
I-
fine,
I
because you
welcome
don't have the right to
your-
vote on them.
I welcome anybody you want to
Well,
send
you know you
me.
don't welcome,
Mayor,
because I brought up
I
somebody,
nominated Mr.
I brought up
Tommy Buddy last
somebody,
month,
Carrie
and I
brought up
feel
somebody,
he's
you didn't
completely
ask.
qualified.
But the mayor, just like when the mayor was looking for a city attorney, and I got resumes, I did interviews, I asked anybody, who do you want me to talk to? We do that. Then I make a choice, and I put that name forward,
just as
and I
Coun-
ask for approval or denial.
Just as
That's-
Councilman Bodier said in the past, mayors and council always work together, even on boards like that. It don't matter if the mayor
Right.
doesn't want somebody on the
And
board,
we've
they're
had
still gonna
some-
bring them up.
we've had
We
some-
brought up 2 people last time, we were denied both of them.
And I've brought up some very prestigious people in this
And
community.
I voted for all of
Our
them, but
people
I
not
abstained from
prestigious.
one of them.
But no,
So,
no, and
yeah.
I agree with you, Councilman. You did support.
I did,
So-
all of them, and
so-
I abstained from one because I told them originally that I can't vote for them, and I gave them
But
at
no,
least the
I
abstention.
I respect, but.
So don't say none of us up here voted for
I
your
didn't-
people.
I-
That's what you stated last meeting, and that's what you're trying to state again.
I don't recall.
let's
I'd
move
like
on,
to get
please.
it Quoted, okay. Thank you. Civil service. We are up for renewals for 2 civil service members. I would like to nominate Ms. Barbara Winhurst to serve for another term.
Can we do that now, or do we have to wait from the letter? I think we have to wait from Loyola.
We can wait for the letter.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
yeah, why don't we get the letter from Loyola, giving us the good, go ahead.
We'll
All right.
wait. Thank you.
All right, next is, court system issues, number 4.
I'm just going to withdraw that at this moment. I'll bring it up at a meeting at a later time.
Next, Planning and
Planning and
Zoning
zoning
Board.
board.
I guess I'll go back to what I originally said. So Mr. Peppo's term is expired. You're saying that unless he is replaced, he is just supposed to remain in that position. Same thing goes for Mr. Dale Velez. Has anybody reached out to them to see if they still want to continue to serve? Oh, you did.
Dale actually wants to reach out, and we also in talks right now about actually him taking over as chairman of planning and zoning.
Okay. And Pat? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Someone
Peppo.
called members of the board and told them that they couldn't serve again for the last meeting.
I actually called a few and told them adversely to get your butt to that meeting.
And I think in Mr. Peppo's defense, he was told that his term was expired, which is why he did not appear at the last meeting, and believe he got a phone call shortly thereafter. So we just wanted to. Right, so we just wanted to clarify, Pat, that's all. So
You're back on.
it appears that you're on until you're replaced, if you will continue to serve. Okay, thank you.
Quit giving us some lip, Mr. Peppo.
Can we move on to address the council?
Nicole, would you mind just moving over? I'm gonna move a chair over.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Jason Bruce, coming to 204 Stoneleigh for the 18th time today. What I'd like to know is, Mayor, going forward, whether or not you are going to comply with all of the rest of the Harahan codes the way you're complying with this nominations code. 2-231, which was read extensively earlier, requires you to submit contracts to them prior to execution. It's very clear. So I want to know from this administration if, and Mayor, you can look at me while I'm talking.
I'm happy to look at you.
Okay.
I'm writing down, because I don't want to lose track of anything, Mr. Brusick, so.
Fair enough.
I'm trying to be good.
I
So
want to
please pardon me
ensure.
When people come up to speak, I really do try to take my notes.
Okay. I want to ensure that you will commit tonight to comply with 2-231 and give the contracts to this council prior to execution so they can do their job and review it and determine if yes or no they're going to support it and pass it. Council, I've asked you something earlier as well. I've asked you to place the Ramelli contract on the agenda for the next meeting. I'm asking you to commit to that as well, especially the amendment specifically, because that needs to be addressed. Nobody can do anything until it passes through your hands. And I submit, again, it needs to die. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can discuss it or not, Evelyn Ream, 3 Run Pass. But anytime I see wood materials, it makes me want to know what's going on. I see under here, y'all was just saying old business, wood materials. Can you?
I just wanted to make sure that you had sufficient time to speak and put your presentation on, so you actually got listed twice tonight. You were.
That was just so lovely of you. I think I'm going to buy a T-shirt from you. I'm not going to tell you what it's going to say. And also, just to shortly, just because don't want to go past my 3 minutes, whatever you guys can do, consisting of my string, consisting of wood materials, please. We've been talking long enough. People are getting tired of hearing this. So please do something together. Get together. Do something, and please get with us and let us know what you accomplished.
And I do think they're using stall tactics. I really do.
Well, it seems that way. A year
Yes,
usually
I
means if
agree.
somebody proposes to you in a year and they don't marry you, you're going to get wondering what's going on. So just please,
That, I agree.
please do something.
Bring
He
it
committed to it. You got the occupational license, you make him do it, and encourage him to do it. And please, with the mulch and compost too, please move it over to Justin Parish. Please make him get rid of some of the concrete and get it over there. Look, and then we're gonna just come here and just listen to y'all and smile. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
John Ream, 3 Run Pass. I have a request for y'all to meet with Pierce Wood, the president of Wood Materials, and the Corps of Engineers at the same time. However y'all can do it, get together, 2s, 3s, whatever legally is the way to do it. But we need some kind of reaching out here and some kind of, he needs to own up to what he said he's going to do and what's actually happening. And if it's something that they've Corps and him are not exactly seeing what they need to be doing, we need to find out. It needs to be publicized, you know, it needs to come out to to y'all, number one, and he owes an explanation to the city of Harahan, number one, and to the residents of Harahan. So I appreciate y'all looking into it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tommy Buddy, 7208 Stoneleigh Drive, Harahan. This is going to be brief. Last meeting, I asked the mayor who drafted the garbage contract and who reviewed it. I'd like an answer to that, and I'd like the answer to that without having to file a Freedom of Information Act request. Should be public knowledge. A general comment.
If you don't mind, I'll
No, I don't
try
mind.
to answer
I appreciate
this.
it.
We developed an RFP. We asked the city engineer to help. We also asked a city resident who is an engineer for the city of New Orleans, who has analyzed this RFP and the garbage contract to help us develop the RFP. That RFP what formed the framework for the future garbage contract. And then the RFP goes out. We actually had a number of people, including Mr. Ed Kraus, who assisted in reviewing that RFP and actually complimented the RFP and how thorough and how wonderful it was, and actually gave compliments to the staff on how hard they worked on the RFP and everyone coming together as a group to do it. So that's how that process started. And in the contract so that formed the framework, and then we moved it to the city attorney to help build the actual contract. We pulled contracts from across the several different municipalities or cities and parishes, so that we could look at and see what those contracts had in them, what they expected of them in order to help us with the RFP process. So Mr. Robert Vajeo helped us, who's an engineer who lives in the city, who does multi-million-dollar projects, who actually was a great resource. Mr. Ed Kraus helped review the RFP, and actually I've got his edits on the RFP process, as well as the city engineer. So it was a very large team.
Well, thank you for that. My comments about that contract, Stan, it was a poorly drafted contract. 50 definitions, only 3 of them are used in the contract. There's all kind of clarifications necessary. Now, you just said that the city attorney was involved in that contract, and I understood last week, Mr. Bureau said he didn't see that contract. He only saw the amendment. So,
That's not true.
I said I did not participate in the drafting of the original RFP, but I did, after the RFP had been let to the 2 final bidders, and they selected the one that was going to be the successful bidder, Ramelli. I got the thing. I looked at specifically the Kenner contract, pulled provisions from that contract into the Harahan contract, and sent it back, I think, to Mr. Hopmeyer. My red line email of that, a revision of it, is in an email that will be submitted to Mr. Brusick in connection with his 2017-30 public records request. So you'll see all of my involvement in that return.
well, thank you. I
And
appreciate
then the
that.
amendment, I'll take pride of authorship for, because when the amendment was done, you're right, I went through all of those definitions. I didn't originally write them, but I went through every one of them to make sure that I caught every one of them, and that they were included in the definition of what the contractor was required to do under that contract. So that was the point of my clarification. I wanted to make sure that every word of that contract had a meaning and was read, and there was an obligation attendant on it, okay?
Yep. I would like you at some point in time to address whether you think that contract requires the contractor to pick up my garbage in my privately provided waste receptacle.
I don't think it does. I don't
Well,
think it does.
Because you changed the wording to make it real clear that they pick up garbage in their cans.
That's
I'm
what it
talking
al-
about the
that's-
original contract.
That's what it always
And
said.
if it was like that in the original contract, sir, I would ask you why you made that clarification. We all know why people make clarifications.
No, I mean,
If it didn't need a clarification, if it was like that in the original contract.
Mr. Buddy, there was a paragraph in the original contract that said that additional cans will be a matter of private contract. Wait,
That
hear me out,
wasn't
sir.
defined. Cans are not defined.
It says, you're right, it's carts. Carts is a defined term.
And that's not the term they used.
Additional carts, no, the contract language is very clear. Additional carts were supposed to be a matter of private relationship, private contract between the contractor and the
Additional
citizen.
carts, the
And
96 can,
Other
96 gallon
than the
can.
96 can, you got one 96-gallon can.
Right.
And, and so the contractor was obligated to go out and enter into private agreements with the citizens.
For a second 96.
For the second can, any additional cans. And then he comes back and says, well, I'm not picking up any of those things. I said, well, you're obligated to go out and make a
He was
contract with them.
obligated to pick up my can and my True Value.
No, he was
my garbage.
only
Absolutely.
required under the contract to pick up one 96-gallon can. And also if it.
You clarified the contract. You clarified it by saying he's gonna pick up garbage in his 96-gallon cans. If it wasn't taking away, if it was already clear, why did you say that in the scope of services?
We were talking about the additional cans. That was the whole problem. He
Well,
said,
but
I'm
that's
not
not
picking.
what you did in, that's not
no.
what you did in the amendment.
I beg to differ with you. It's no longer, what we took out was this thing that he was supposed to go out to go get into private relationships to pick up additional cans. He thought it was too cumbersome, the city thought it was too cumbersome, and the citizens had always said, hey, some of us
But
are
you
paying.
made it
Wait,
clear that he's
some
only
of us are
picking up
paying.
garbage in those cans, period. Period.
They
Those
were,
cans.
all those people
That
bid.
wasn't in the original contract,
All of those
sir.
people
It wasn't in
bid.
the original contract.
It was in the original
You
RFP, Mr.
clarified it in
Buddy.
his favor, sir.
No, I didn't,
No,
Mr. Buddy.
absolutely. I'll get 10 people to read it and opine on it.
Okay, Mr. Buddy. Well, you and I just respectfully have to disagree
We
about that.
respectfully disagree. All I know is you clarified the contractor's favor. You took away from me the ability to put overflow garbage into a second can that I own.
The
Which was in the
contract-
original contract, and which I've done in Harahan for 28 years. I've only been here for 28 years. That's not as long as some people in this room. I've always had the ability to do that, so did every other resident, every other citizen. And your clarification removed that.
Well, Mr. Buddy, the overflow language that you're citing didn't deal with the 96-gallon can for
No,
which
it
the guy
dealt
is
with the waste
compensated.
receptacle. And what you did, you said waste receptacles are now for my lawn refuge, my.
Exactly.
Well, it wasn't limited in the beginning. In the original contract, it wasn't limited, and I could put crawfish in there. I could load it up with crawfish if I had a crawfish bar. Now I can't do that. Apparently, I can't do that. The contractor's saying he's not gonna pick it up, and your clarifications didn't address it, except the only thing you said about waste receptacles was that you gotta put your
Your yard
your
waste,
trash, your
your yard waste, because
Right.
that's what the,
I
that's
wasn't
what,
limited to that before.
that's what the RFP, the original
No,
RFP
the
actually called
RFP
for.
Well,
Okay.
you took-
You and I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you took the RFP and made that verbiage the contract, correct?
I didn't
Are
do
you- are
that,
you-
but that was
are you-
what was done,
Are you
yes.
suggesting that the RFP verbiage regarding waste receptacles is different from the waste receptacle verbiage in the original contract?
No, it's the same, it's the
That's
same,
what I thought.
it's the same
So if
verbiage.
the
but-
RFP
But garbage, household refuse, garbage, that has to go in the 96-gallon can.
Now it does,
That's
it
what-
didn't originally.
It did, the original,
No,
that's what
I
the
could
original
put it in my
contract
waste
called for.
receptacle.
The original RFP called for that.
No,
That
you
was-
won't show me that, and I'll show you where it doesn't say that.
Oh.
It's
The
on page
original-
11 and 12.
And we've gone over on the time, but,
Oh,
but I'll just,
well, you and I are gonna disagree on it.
Okay.
We'll disagree on it forever, okay? I mean, you've read it, you're an attorney, you tell me what you think it says. This is not my first rodeo with the contract, but I'm not an attorney. Just know how
I
to read
just-
and write.
Well, the whole contract is about an estimate of 4,000 household
disagree.
units. Household units was a defined term. Household units meant you got a sewer, you got a water board bill, you had a 96-gallon can. People
That's
in the
not
city.
defined in there.
People, yeah, it is. People
the
people in
municipal
city-
code defined that.
People in this city have been paying for their extra cans.
If they had a 96-gallon can. People in the city have been putting out Louis Ace Hardware cans and Home Depot and Lowe's cans for 28 years. Without any problems, without any question. And your
understand, Mr. Buddy.
clarification said, that's not gonna happen, because you clarified the services of the contractor to say they're gonna pick up garbage in their 96-gallon cans.
Well, Mr.
Your
Mr. Buddy,
clarification removed my ability and everybody else's ability to put out a second can in the case where they have a party and overflow.
here was one of the original disputes with Mr. Romelli. He said, I'm owed my tipping fees. Now, you know, the tipping fee is what they do by the ton.
I know.
Yeah. He says, I'm owed tipping fees. And the first fight we had with him was.
I
you-
get back
wait,
to how
wait,
poorly the
wait.
original
We
contract
said,
was put
no,
together.
no, wait.
If you
The
use
first thing we said to him was.
progressive contract as your model, you
Wait.
wouldn't have these
Wait,
problems.
hear
Mr.
me
Budd.
out. Hear me out. He said, you owe me the tipping fees. And we said, no, we don't. We specifically said, the contract says you are responsible for, third word on it, disposal. Here's 50 instances of the word disposal, Mr.
saw it.
Romelli, is on you. So that.
I agree.
So, okay. So, but
When he
that's the
couldn't
way
get that.
That's the way he wanted to do. Oh, everybody's used to unlimited garbage. Well, you do unlimited garbage contracts on a tipping fee tonnage basis.
No.
That's not what we did.
Wait a minute, did the progressive contract that we left, how did it address this?
Sir, I don't pretend to be an expert on the progressive contract, so don't ask me anything about it. I didn't draft it, review it, or anything.
I've read it. Now, I didn't read it in as much detail as I read the Romelli contract, but it read pretty straightforward.
Go
And
read
it didn't
it.
raise all these questions. And in
Go read it.
fact, they picked it up. It was never an item of contention. It was never disputed.
And-
It just got picked up.
And I don't think, that, have you not had your garbage picked up?
I haven't had a problem with it.
There you go. So,
So wait till I put out this can. Now, when I put out an overflow can, I'm fully expecting it's not gonna be picked up.
well, I think that, you know,
That's what I'm
the
expecting.
reason that all of these municipalities have gone to these automated collection systems is because they're faster, they cut down on workers' compensation claims, the
Absolutely, I
guys don't.
understand
Okay, so that's why the contractors want to make sure you got that automated can out there. Mr. Romelli, I think, has said before this council that if you put an extra garbage bag out there, we realize that you got high use.
No, he followed that up by saying he was gonna follow the contract. I'm expecting his last word at that podium to be his word.
Right.
Somebody's gotta keep their word.
Well, you know, there's always going to be some give and take on these
Well,
things.
maybe.
I think that if
Maybe.
one spot is abusive of putting out an extra bag or two, the city hall will get a call. The mayor will be dealing with complaints from Mr. Romelli. But you know, fair is fair. The guy has a certain number of cans out on the street. We're the ones who make the count. He bid it on a per unit basis.
He did not.
Okay. I'm telling you, that's.
The RFP contains not one provision on price adjustment. Now, it's a
That's not true.
$609,000 or $650,000 contract. There is not one provision. Listen, I've dealt with enough contracts in my life.
I know you have.
City and state contracts, federal government contracts, and if there's gonna be an additional charge, it's black and white. If it's a unit-based contract, it is black and white.
I'm just gonna have to interject, and I think we've given you a lot of
Well, you have.
time.
Thank you.
And, for your 3 minutes, you've given, right.
I thought I'd be here for 30 seconds,
I
thank you.
know, it felt like it,
The
But
reality is.
can I speak, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. For years on end, the way that the city has set up its fee schedule, be it not defined, but in actuality, has been by a per cart.
And here's what the contract
issue.
says on page 18.
And
Number of units for service. The City of Harahan and the curbside contractor will mutually agree on an account of units to be serviced under the contract. The last count suggested the City of Harahan services approximately 4,000 qualified residential units under the solid waste contract. For the purposes of this request, that was the RFP, the unit count will be 4,000. Updates to this count will be made by the contractor not more often than monthly. The City of Harahan has the right to perform a count of its own at any time. The city's count will be binding. The intention all along in this was that it was going to be a per cart charge. That's why the other section goes off and
Well,
says,
that's a good argument for
no, it's
Mr.
not an argument.
Romelli to
I'm
make.
not arguing
That's
about
a-
it.
But that's
It's what
not
the-
the
what
argument
they
that
say.
my attorney representing me would make. My attorney representing me would say, there's nothing in here that gives you a price adjustment, period. That's what my attorney, as a citizen, would say for me, or my attorney that I hired to represent my business. What Mr. Romelli would argue is what you just argued.
well, here's what it said about
And when you
multiple carts.
negotiate something.
Multiple
and you-
carts.
And you decide that you're gonna resolve the disagreement, normally there's some meeting in the middle, there's some give and take.
Well,
There was none here. You
Here's-
just
here-
agree with the position that
here's what-
favored the contract.
Here's what multiple carts is defined as. Multiple carts. More than one cart in use at a single unit is considered a private matter between the unit owner and the contractor.
That's a cart, it's not defined, it's not a
Yeah,
defined
cart
term.
is- yeah, cart is-
Carts aren't defined, and it just, we also have waste receptacles in this contract. Before it was amended, I could put out garbage in a waste receptacle. I could put my lawn clippings in a paper bag. We had a lot of flexibility
you
as
can
citizens.
still put,
Need to put it in a can.
yard waste in.
But you need to put it in a can.
Yard
So
waste
long
now
as you
has
can
to
put it
be
in a
in a
receptacle.
garbage
It has
can.
to be picked up. at the same-
Yard
can
waste
put it in
has
a
to be
bag.
Read the amendment. Yard
Yep,
waste
you can
has to
put
go into a garbage
They have a
can.
couple bags on Carolyn that's sitting there a week.
Well, I'm not sure what's been sitting where, but yard waste now has to go, as subject of the amendment, to quote, clarify it, now it has to go in a garbage can.
Well, I wanted to, in clarifying it, I wanted to make sure it got picked up. That if it was sitting in a bag, he could say, oh, I don't have to put it in there. At least the definition now says, if I put it in my own can, you have to pick it up, Mr. Contractor. You just can't ignore
The
it.
original contract, it said things were picked up, and I can't remember the term, but it wasn't a defined term. It could have been a garbage bag or a cardboard box. The reality is, as poorly as the first contract was drafted, it had a lot of things in there that benefited the citizens if you took the citizens' positions in defending the contract. Instead, we amended the contract, the city amended the contract, it's not you personally, the administration and you.
No, I mean,
City
that-
amended the contract, contractor won on every point, citizens lost on every point.
That's not
That's
just,
not
that
true.
really.
Well, I think it is. I named 4 points
really-
earlier. I
I mean,
named
go
4
back
points
and,
earlier.
go back and read the first letter that came from Mr.
I don't need to
Rinelli's
read
lawyer.
letters.
Well, that's.
That's, and if
it'll-
they
it'll
come
show
in
you-
asking for 100,000 and you only gave them 20.
I'm gonna,
it'll
I
show
think
you
we
that
should.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, bud.
Thank you.
Eric Chatelain,
Hold on,
700.
Let me get there again. Okay, go on.
Eric Chatelain, 700 Colonial Club Drive. Original contract from Romelli, page 13. Rollout carts and privately provided waste receptacle used for overflow manual collections shall be handled carefully by contractors, shall not be bent or otherwise abused, and shall be thoroughly emptied, then left at the proper point of collection. That's original contract. I haven't had a garbage problem. I put out my Ace Hardware garbage can, and it's emptied every time. Thank God. All right? I do know, I've noticed residents who've had 40 trash bags in their front yard on May 27th. May 27th, 40 trash bags were picked up. I'm just telling you what I see. I haven't seen a garbage problem. I'm not reading through this contract scrutinizing it because I've never had a problem. I disagree with amending contracts and adding money, but like I said, I'm not following this garbage. I got enough other stuff I want to follow. I'm just looking at different things, and to give a contract, I mean, I'm a contractor, and we give a price. It's a brutal beating to go back and get extra money for things. And from what I'm hearing, they came in and negotiated a sweet deal. And it just looks, from what I'm hearing, I didn't read all the contracts. From what I'm hearing on the streets and in here, they came out ahead. You know, I've been in y'all's shoes. I respect what y'all do. I think y'all need to work together a little better. The city can move forward so much better. We ran on transparency. We ran on planting lilies on the neutral ground. When you come into Harahan from River Ridge, Jefferson Highway looks like a pig stop. You got 60 cars parked on Jefferson Highway every day. Looks like a pig stop. There's no regulatory department in this city anymore. There's houses being built with no sidewalks. You know, there's no cleanup area. I mean, it makes me sick. And I'm a contractor. It's hard for me to come in here and beat up the regulatory department because I work with them guys, you know. But the things you see happening, it's really a disgrace. You know, Jefferson Highway looks like a pigsty. I mean, you come through and I'm like, wow, I'm not proud to tell somebody to come here that way. I want to tell them, go around Clearview, come up Hickory, and come the other way. I mean, you have 5 automotive places, they just park all over Jefferson Highway. It was done prior to y'all being here. I'm not saying it's something new. I'm just asking if something can be done. It just looks like a mess.
Can I just address one thing? Right after the paragraph I just read about the unit counts, here's the next paragraph.
New
Service-
contract,
wait,
old contract.
This is the original RFP. Service expansions, contractions. From time to time, the city of Harahan will notify the contractor to begin service at new locations or to discontinue service at specified locations. Such notification shall be in writing. Upon notification, the contractor shall provide, discontinue collection service on the next regular collection day for that route or adjacent area, if not on a designated route. Collection and disposal services shall be provided at the same rates in this contract for similar type services. Contractor will update the unit count for submission to the city of Harahan's disposal specifications. Next paragraph, approximate quantities. Contractor has used the following: 96-gallon rollout carts, qualified residential quantity 4,000. This contractor has always been read as a unit thing based upon an estimate of 4,000. If the number of citizens using the service goes down, we pay less money. If it goes up, we pay more money. That's just the way the thing was written. And the ordinance, the garbage ordinance as it's written in your municipal code right now, provides for that. It's a pass-through kind of contract. Your law right now, without any amendment, says if the cost of this goes up for the city bills it through to the resident. That's what the law is in this city right now. So it's never been just, lump sum thing, we're gonna pay a lump sum. That's just not the way it is, or it has ever been.
Mr. Romelli stood right here. The mayor sat right there and said, I saved the city $80,000. Mr. Romelli stood right here and says, you put it out, we'll pick it up. Refrigerator.
Yeah, he did.
He said, I've never heard a garbage man say this. Put a tire out there and I'll pick it up.
Excuse me, we need to change the tape, and you've done your 3 minutes.
But I held him to it. In the amendment, I defined.
I'm going home
Hold on.
tonight. I'm going home tonight to put a tire on the street.
Hold on. We're taking a moment break. Okay, we can resume.
Mayor, I'd like to thank you for the appointment, and I'd like to thank each and one element of the council for approving it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jimmy, for your service. We will now address the council.
Secretary's report for May, total revenue $655,902.44.
Reports, Ms. Wheeler.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Burris, back to our original conversation when I recited the Harahan Municipal Code about, contracts being entered without council approval.
Yes, ma'am.
You stated that this was the status quo of the prior administration. Well, I have an ordinance here that was implemented under this current mayor's administration on December 17th, 2015.
Just before I
Wait,
became city
wait.
attorney.
Well, but it's there. Again, I will read again. Prior to the execution of any contract by the city of Harahan or any of its departments, will be submitted to the Harahan Council for review and formal approval. Any amendments, changes, additions, deletions will follow the same procedure. But Section 8, any contract for goods or services involving the city of any of its departments which is executed without compliance of the provision in this contract shall be null and void.
Well, now this is why it helps if you send me your concerns before a council meeting where I.
Well, you had stated.
Wait a minute. Can I respond?
Please
I
do.
just sent you my opinion. While I've been sitting here, I'm not wasting the city's money. I'm not gonna do this on another, I've been doing it while I've been sitting here. So, your section 2-231, as you're correct, it was passed in December of 2015. It was just before I got here. I understand that there was some disputes between the mayor and the council. However, this ordinance appears to be in conflict with the provisions of the Lawson Act, specifically 33404A4, which provides duties of the mayor. The mayor shall have the following powers, duties, and responsibilities. Subsection 4, to sign all contracts on behalf of the municipality. There are no opinions of the Louisiana Attorney General on this issue. There is no case law dealing with LRS 33404A4. However, it has been observed, quote, the Supreme Court has held that another term used in RS 33404 must, quote, be given its broadest possible interpretation in order to enable the mayor to exercise his powers under the act. That's Roberts versus Town of Jonesboro. It's number 48,396 CA, Mr. Brusick, that you're taking it down. And it's citing Chapman versus Bordelon, 242 Louisiana, 637, 138 Southern 2nd 1, Supreme Court, 1962. If the provisions of law are in conflict, as they appear to be, then the provisions of state law are going to control. It should also be noted that the Roberts decision noted that substantial compliance, that's in quotes, substantial compliance with the Lawson Act is sufficient to comply with its provisions. So if you've got, and I understand there was a dispute between the mayor and the council back in December, I wasn't here yet. If I had been called on to opine as to the efficacy of the ordinance you passed in December of 2015, I would have told you exactly what I told you just now. And it's, when I took this job and I heard from other lawyers about what was going on here, and I asked around, I said, I think the city of Harahan is going through some growing pains, and the Lawson Act might no longer fit it quite right. And that maybe it should, like Kenner, have its own home rule charter, where the lines of authority are clearly defined for all the public officials. Because I'm going to tell you, every time you open up a case that deals with the Lawson Act and the respective powers between the mayor and the council with respect to employees, especially with the police chief and his power over employees, you run into it's a complete mess half the time. There are no lines in the sand on this stuff. I wish I could tell you there's a case that specifically says.
No, I just wanted to clarify
that
your
ordinance,
prior comment where you said that you just followed what was previously done, and
And
this
so,
ordinance,
and look,
and
and
this
that's a
ordinance was
legitimate
done
way, any
after.
judge will tell you that's a legitimate way to do it. If you think there's a conflict, what were you doing for the last 20 years? Do that. Don't go upsetting the apple cart, because we know that that contract.
Just wanted
up-
clarification.
and that's-
To go along
and
with
that's
that, though, we're not taking it out of the mayor's hands to sign the contract, like you say. It's just coming to us for approval
Yeah,
before signing.
But you know, that, and,
So
the
that's
que-
not-
and,
that's-
yeah, and the question then becomes.
It's not taking the sign out of your hand.
And the question then becomes,
How is
is what the
taking it
Lawrence
out of
Act.
your hand, Mayor, to sign?
Wait, let me explain to you the
Okay,
nuance.
okay.
The question then becomes whether what the Lawrence Act is defining for the mayor's job is a ministerial duty, or whether it is a discretionary duty, or it's a mandatory duty. And all I can do is go back and read the preamble of 33-404. The mayor shall have the following powers, duties, and responsibilities. So when a judge looks at this and he goes, oh, it's just a ministerial function, Mayor, all you're gonna do is just affix your signature to a contract. That's all you have to do. Well, a judge might look at that and say, no, that's not it. The contract only, if the Larson Act had meant for the council to have any authority over contracts, it'd have put something in, the state legislature would have put something in there about it. The only place contract appears is under her authority, her powers, authorities, and duties. So a judge is gonna be more inclined to say, no, that's an exclusive authority for her. If you appropriate the money, okay, she's the one who has to go out and spend it as the administrator. She's got pretty much unlimited discretion to do that, if you appropriate it. Now, I'm gonna go way out on a limb here. Let me throw a hand grenade into all of this. If you don't like the Ramelli contract, next year, don't appropriate any money. Then you've got no garbage contract.
Well, that's what I feel like almost every contract, maybe we shouldn't give her any money, and then she has to come to us for everything.
And then what you've done is you've set her up for a perfect lawsuit to sue the council for the usurpation of the mayor's powers. Now, if you come to me and ask me these questions, I'll tell you, that's what you're looking at. So that's why, instead of getting involved in litigation about
Well, your
this.
comment about bringing it earlier, when I sat there and we had recess, I'm like, you know what, I don't think this was done during the prior administration. So I was just getting the information and
Well, that's,
clarifying.
and then, it was Mr. Robert Johnson who pointed out
Well, yeah,
to me
because
that.
Councilman Johnson brought this up, and it was, of course, a heated discussion then, as it still is
He said,
now.
Burris, that thing was passed in 2015, and that's when, let me go back and look at it. You see, if you ask me these questions before council meetings, I can have answers for you. But, I don't think it's really fair to sandbag me with this kind of stuff.
I don't think it's fair for this council to get sandbagged either.
Ma'am, I'm not an elected official. I'm just a hired gun. I'm just trying to give you the best legal advice.
And we're trying to do the job that we were elected to do, and we don't have all the
got you.
tools to do it. So we can move on.
Chief Walker?
Stats for the Harahan Police Department for May of 2017. We had 584 calls for service, 14 auto accidents, 81 citations issued for 104 charges, 1 funeral escort, 5 patrol requests. We had 15 narcotics arrests for 24 charges, 14 of them were felony, 2 misdemeanors, 8 city charges. Other arrests were 63, other charges were 93, 7 felonies, 55 misdemeanors, 24 city charges, 7 traffic. No murders, no rapes, 2 residential burglaries, no robberies, no non-residential burglary, 1 attempt burglary, no motor vehicle thefts, no attempted motor vehicle thefts, 11 larceny thefts, and 10 assaults. In regards to the street lights, I was out about a week and a half ago with one of the reserves, and we tagged a bunch of lights. The contractor, Far Energy, I've noticed for some reason missed a few of them, and I will be getting with them shortly to see why they didn't change or fix those lights that we reported. And the next thing, I hope this council understands what I was saying before, but that ordinance is up for first reading and it'll be adopted next month. I was given a budget by this council for 2016. If I would have had my financials on a timely basis, I would have known how much money I had to spend. It's $160,000. I'd like to get it for the department, and I'm willing to give 20 back to the city so no city employee has to pay an increase in insurance premiums for the next year. Thank you.
Councilman Johnston?
No report.
Councilman Bodier?
I just would like to say that my prayers go out to the Scalise family, and just this weekend, I actually got to go visit Philadelphia, and it wasn't far away from where all of this went down, and it was very humbling. I got to go stand in Independence Hall where the Declaration of Independence was signed and where America was born, and and it was great, and I encourage anyone and everyone to go see it, especially elected officials. And, just wanna remind everybody, summer's here, kids are out, and, thank you, and always you can reach me on my cell at any time. It's, 504-343-7762. Thank you.
Councilman Bennett? I would like to reiterate what Councilman Baudier said about our congressman. Mr. Scalise, I went to Washington DC. He's a very welcoming, wonderful man, bright, charming, and loves this city, loves his district, loves Rummel, LSU, and the Saints, and he's proud with his jerseys, with his name. He loves this country. As he showed me to the back of his office and looked out onto the rotunda of the United States where they swear in the presidents of the United States, I was awestruck because I looked at him and it looked like he was looking out on that view for the first time ever. And I know he'd gone to that window and sat there a long time, many times. So I have a deep respect for him, and his love for his country and the service. And I'm so troubled at what has happened to him and 4 other people who serve our country, trying to practice our national pastime. So I don't know how the baseball game went today for Congress. I have no idea. Who did?
Democrats won 11-2.
Oh, yeah, there you go. They were down Steve Scalise, that's why the other team didn't win. I also, in light of that, would like to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. And thank you for your attendance tonight. Pay the bills.
Getting to pay the bills, I think last month we adjourned before that.
Correct.
So could we pay the April
Yes,
and?
please, pay
Well,
bills.
next, could we pay the April bills in July? Because I
Yes.
didn't bring them with me.
Okay.
All right, so bills paid in May, $473,308.44.
Thank you. And we are, your motion to,
Motion.
Oh, if you want to just pay
Wait,
the
wait,
April
what?
bills, Judy has them here. 320 for the paid bills,
Pay the
April
bills
2017,
for-
$326,357.49.
thank you. So we're all caught up on
Motion
that.
to adjourn.
I have a motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Wheeler, all in favor?
Yay.
Oh, Todd, do you want to do anything to say? Oh, wait, Todd wants to say something. We already adjourned officially. Keep going, keep.
I'm just saying that the meeting is adjourned. One of these days, I'm gonna convince. One of these days, I'm gonna convince our mayor to let me go before Chief Walker. You fixed that, okay. Anyway, for the month of May, the fire department had 1 structure fire, 4 medical calls, 4 auto accidents with injury, 1 hazardous chemical incident, 1 vehicle fire, 5 calls, service calls, which range a whole bunch of little things, no big deal, and 9 good intent false alarm calls for a total of 25 calls. Thank you very much. Appreciate you keeping the camera rolling.
We
Have
can
a good
adjourn,
night.
and, I apologize.
Oh, we gotta fix this. I'm calling.